It encouraged housework. She's a 19-year-old and it shows. I don't know. I just honestly don't know. Hi, I'm Sock Marionette, a middle-aged lady in a tiara and talking about books and also celebrating the 12 days of Christmas. And today is day 4, as in 4 calling birds, and this is the beautiful festive back of the ornament. So all this holly and some extra birds that mirror the 4 calling birds on the front. They're lovely. Okay, a bit of editing while I argued with the tree. I put the calling birds up there and took down this ornament. And this is a meta ornament. It's an ornament that's an ornament. As you can see, it's got the bow at the top, and it is designed to look like one of those round bauble ornaments, but of course it's 2 flat pieces put together in a cross section to be 3-dimensional. Very nice. It's Sunday, so the fourth day of Christmas means Sunday, December 28th. It's overcast outside here in central Connecticut. It's just about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and we still have a lot of snow on the ground. It's mostly melted off of the trees, but I think it's been fairly chilly today. I don't know. I didn't go out, and I didn't need to, and I didn't want to. The earworm of the day is My World is Empty Without You by the Supremes. Today I'm going to be reviewing 2 Advent books. One is A Heart for Christmas by Sophie Germain. This one came actually packaged explicitly for Advent, with each chapter kind of in a bundle, that the front page where it gave the date wrapped around to this back page, and then there was a perforation that you could separate. And then one that I treated like an Advent book, and that was A 25 Days Till Christmas by Poppy Alexander. I'm going to go ahead and talk about this one first. I enjoyed this one. It's takes place in Bristol in the UK, and Sophie is a widow with a young son, and during the course of the 3.5 weeks before Christmas, she gets a lot of stuff thrown her way. She has to cope with a lot. Her son's having behavioral and learning problems in school. Even though he's a lovely young lad, she's starting to realize that maybe he has certain social, emotional, and academic needs that aren't getting met at his current school. She has a dead-end job or working at a department store for a boss who kind of has her overworked, underappreciated. He has her dressed as an elf out on the sidewalk selling Christmas trees, which is kind of a cold situation. She's been doing this for 2 or 3 years during Christmas season. Her name is Kate. Her son's name is Jack. And there's a man, Daniel, who has been coming to buy Christmas trees from her for 2 or 3 years in the company of his sister, who was in her 20s, and she had Down syndrome. And the last time they came to visit, she was in a wheelchair and looked like she was not doing too great. Turns out she had congenital heart problems, so if that's something you don't want to read about, don't read this book. And she had died not too long after the previous Christmas. This is all in the first few pages of the book, so it's not a spoiler alert. But yeah, there are some difficult things around that. Kate's mother-in-law has dementia, and so she's got this job that doesn't pay her enough, and that she feels constantly under threat. So she's got a lot going on. Daniel's been very depressed since his sister died. They've been living together since his parents died, and so he's kind of like the last one in his family. And so we have these people with problems, and of course, because it's a Christmas book, they all get solved by the end of the book. It's just how they get solved that's interesting to read. I enjoyed it. It's not like the best type of that book I've ever read, but I did have a good time with it. However, moving on to A Heart for Christmas by Sophie Germain, I did not enjoy this book. I enjoyed the process of reading it and cutting the pages every day. It's a beautiful book, but the perforation was so strong that frequently when I was tearing it, now I was using a steak knife, the pages were sometimes getting, let's see if I can demonstrate, kind of gouged up. There are little tiny scraps of paper that tore off and peeled away like all over my house that got tracked everywhere. I keep trying to pick them up. Anyway, never mind. It encouraged housework. The book itself, it is, I don't know if it's explicitly sold as YA. She's 19, he's 22, again with the heart problems. She's a heart transplant recipient. She received her heart when she was 16. Again, she had, I think she had heart problems from the time she was a child. So normally she lives in Lyon with her mother, but she's visiting her father for Christmas. He lives in the French Alps. And the dude, Augustin, is her best friend's brother. Her best friend's really weird about it. The whole thing is very strange. And I think this is not a book that was served well by only being able to read a chapter a day. That's a format that didn't work well for it, but I didn't like this book on other grounds. This is first person from April's point of view. So we're locked in with her, and I think she's a 19-year-old and it shows, and she's also in some ways had a very sheltered life because of her health, and after she received her transplant, her parents, especially her mother, has tried to really restrict her activities just because she's so worried about her, which is understandable, and she chafes at that, which is also understandable. So in some ways she's older than her years, in other ways she's not, and she was okay, I think, as long as you keep in mind that she is 19 and she's had kind of extraordinary circumstances in her life. My problem with the book was the writing. Now, this was written by Sophie Germain in French because she is a French writer. It's translated by somebody else into English. However, the grammar is all correct and everything, but there's just this kind of striking absence of any kind of attempt at slang or playfulness with the language. And I've read other books in translation that do have that are able to convey that slang and playfulness with language and creativity with language that just doesn't seem to be here in this book. And I don't speak French well enough that I could read the original and tell you whether or not it was there. However, I don't know. I just honestly don't know. I don't know if this is the translation issue or the original issue. What I think it would be very good for is for people who speak English as a foreign language who want to read a romance novel, because some of that, when somebody writes a book in English or translates it into English and has that playfulness with language and that kind of creative use of language, it can sometimes be confusing to people who don't speak that language as natives do. But it plays it really, really safe, and it just ends up being kind of bland for me. So yeah, I did enjoy the process, but I didn't enjoy the book. And this one, I enjoyed both the process and the book. And I will say I enjoyed the process of opening a new chapter every day enough in this book that I bought this book, which is called Meet Cute. And this is Fall in Love in 14 Sealed Stories. It's Countdown to Valentine's Day. It's an anthology. I've mentioned this in a previous video. It has 14 stories. Reading glasses are migratory creatures. How they ended up over there, I don't know. Anyway, so it does have 14 stories by 14 writers. We've got Jennifer L. Armentrout, Danielle Clayton, Katie, I still don't know if it's Cotugno, Cotugno, Jocelyn Davis, Huntley Fitzpatrick, Nina LaCour, Emery Lord, Catherine McGee, Cass Morgan, Julie Murphy, Meredith Russo, Sarah Shepard, Nicola Yoon, and Ibi Zaboy. And these are all sealed. And I think this format will probably work better with short stories than it did with a novel. So I'm looking forward to this. It's very cute. Every day has a different design. Like here we have bows. There's a big emphasis on hearts, of course, and on red, pink, and white as colors. Pierced arrows. And so I will be reading this starting on the 1st of February. And if anybody wants to read it along with me, please feel free. So I think I will look for another Advent book next year, as long as it's not by Sophie Germain. It has to the gimmick was enough to sustain me through the reading experience this year, and maybe even next year, but the book has to be something that I'm actually enjoying reading and looking forward to reading every day, instead of, I'll read a chapter from this book, so I can get to a chapter from this book. Thank you for your attention. If you enjoyed what you saw here today, please like, comment, share, subscribe, or don't. I am not the boss of you, and I hope you have a good day or night.